This morning I was messing around on SiteGround, which is my web hosting platform, and as I was doing that, I happened to come across this page that always says when each website started. And as I was doing this, I saw that Becca's Music Room, my first website, my biggest website, I started in September of 2017. Which was wild. So as I started thinking about that, I realized that meant that I must have started TPT in September of 2018. And now that it is September of 2025, that puts me at 7 years on TPT. So I thought we would do a quick video talking about some things that I've learned in the last 7 years. Now, this is not like everything I've learned, obviously, but really specifically like in the last year or so, what I've learned. I used to make these videos every year. I haven't in a couple of years. I think 5 was the last time I did it. So maybe I only skipped 1. Maybe I skipped 2. I don't know. But let's talk about things that I've learned in a lot of years on TPT. Also, I just stuck my hand in my pocket and I found the flower petal that a child handed me today because not weird at all. Anyway, I'm gonna grab some coffee, you grab some coffee, and let's sit down and chit chat about things we have learned. Also, I would love to know things you have learned in the comments, whether it's been a month or a year or 7 years or 10 years. I would love to hear it down in the comments. I have literally been thinking about iced coffee since like 10 o'clock this morning. Hallelujah. Okay. That is going to revive me as we discuss this. So let's go through 7 things I've learned in 7 years. Oh, look how nice that ended up being. It was going to be 6 and then I added 1 just now. So, okay, let's get into it. Number 1 is that consistent action is really and truly the basis for success in anything, whether you are on TPT, whether you're on a YouTube channel, whether you're teaching. Even I see it teaching because this is my 9th year teaching, and like just how much easier everything is, how much more established things are. I look at, it's been really interesting because long story short, we have a band program and we used to have a modern band program and now we have a concert band program. So what this means is that I have some students that I have not taught the last couple of years because I teach like second grade and under. But the older kids, I split with the band teacher. And so some of the kids were in modern band and were not in decided not to do concert band. So now they're with me because they're not in band anymore. Long story short, I have seen the difference that 2 years has made at my school with the students I've had for the last 2 years and the students I haven't had for the last 2 years. Everything comes down to consistency. Reading comes down to consistency. Cleaning comes down to consistency. And the phrase that I tell myself often that you're not going to like when I say this because it doesn't sound very, it's not very touchy-feely, it's not very wholesome, whatever. But this is literally what I tell myself when I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do this, ugh, I don't want to, whatever. Literally, I tell myself, it doesn't matter if you want to. What matters is it gets done. Because at the end of the month, I can sit down and be like, oh, I did, all this work, or I didn't do all this work. And it doesn't matter how I was feeling about it. What matters is whether or not it got done. Now, there are some cases where I do adjust. I have gotten a lot better over the last couple of years in, being a little more careful, a little more sensitive. And there are days where I'm like, I really just can't. But learning, that might even be point number 8. Learning when you really can't and when you just need to push through is a skill that you need to learn for yourself. So for me, 90% of the time, I'm, today I got home and I was like, I don't want to do this. But instead, saying, it doesn't matter if you want to, we're going to do it anyway because it needs to get done, is the basis for this YouTube channel surviving. Because if I don't do it because I don't want to, then eventually I'm going to run out of videos and I'm not going to have anything to post. So being consistent really is the secret sauce. And in talking to TPT sellers, I talked to some sellers who have had their stores for years, but they like barely done anything, or they posted a few things and then didn't touch it for years. And I see that like non-consistency versus people who are consistent and work in their business every single week, and it makes a huge difference. So for me, I really am trying to make sure that I'm working in the business every single week, because I get to the end of the month, I get to the end of the quarter, and I can tell if I have been consistent or if I haven't been consistent. And the more I'm consistent, the better the sales are, the better and closer I am to the audience, like the better everything is. So I really am trying to make sure that I am doing that in a healthy way, so I'm not losing my mind, because been there, done that. But still, just really trying to be consistent as much as humanly possible, which also includes ordering, part of my life, so that I am not so exhausted that I actually can get work done. So that's a discussion for another day. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2 is the difference between seasonal versus evergreen products. So seasonal products are products that are good for a season. Evergreen are things that are great all the time. And specifically what I've noticed is the best way to gain sales at a certain time of year is a seasonal product. If I'm looking at my sales and I'm like, man, every year it's dipping in April, it's dipping in October, whatever, I can look at that, and you know what helps? Seasonal products. Make a couple seasonal products, make some good seasonal products, and it will solve that problem. So if I have low months, if I'm having a hard time, if we have had a hard year and I need to boost that income, that is the best way to do it, is some seasonal products. However, evergreen products, having some evergreen products that sell month after month after month, helps create like a basis of money for your store. So if I need money in a certain time, or if I want to boost sales at a certain time, a seasonal product is what can help with that. But if I need to boost sales in general, then an evergreen product will do that for me. However, it does have to be like a good evergreen product. And so looking at the data, making sure that you know what those things are, because if you can, get a new product and it starts selling $100 every single month, that's going to boost your revenue. If it can start selling $200 every single month, and it can keep growing. And so having those in there, the thing I personally find about evergreen products is I feel like, and this could be in my head, I feel like they don't always sell right off the bat. When I have a seasonal product, especially if I'm sending in emails and I'm promoting it, it will sell, and it'll sell like ASAP. Versus an evergreen product, since there's not that like built-in timeline, sometimes I feel like they don't sell a lot as soon, and so it can take time for that revenue to grow. However, when you're looking at your sales and you're looking at your products, you will probably notice that some of your evergreen products will sell a lot. So looking at those things and looking at that as kind of like a way to make sure that you are making sales. So if you need money at a certain time, seasonal products. If you just need to boost revenue in general, evergreen products. But you're going to have to pack your patience. So there is that. Number 3 is the one that I added in to make us a nice round 7. And that is save everything. I spent so many years writing emails, posting on Instagram, writing Pinterest descriptions, writing descriptions for products, and having to redo it every single time that I wrote a new email, made a new Instagram post, made a new Pinterest description. And it took me years to realize I could save those things and I could reuse them. This is especially important to me for emails, because emails take a lot of work and I put a lot of effort into them, which is great because they do bring the revenue. However, it's something that I have to keep doing every single week. On YouTube, I can post a video, less frequently. On Instagram, I don't necessarily have to post like all the time, but email is that thing that like I really truly can't skip in my business. And because of that, it takes up a lot of time. And so the day I realized that I could save emails or Instagram descriptions or, any of those kind of things and reuse them, a light bulb went off. And since then, I have been in the mantra of save everything. So I have Google Docs that have my emails in them when they're good. I don't save every single one because some of them I'm kind of like, whatever. But if it's a decent email, I will save it and I will put in that Google Doc. If it is an Instagram reel, I've been saving all my reels, downloading them to my phone, adding them to Google Photos. using those same things for Pinterest. I have been saving like parts of Pinterest descriptions so I can like add in different sections that are keyword rich. I have been, like doing all those kind of things. And what that does is it saves me so much time later on, because later on I'm like, ooh, I really need to send emails. I don't have time to write all these emails, or I spend way too much time writing one and then I need to post something really quick. I can go to that document and I can copy and paste, and you know who's noticing? Nobody. As long as you wait long enough in between posts, probably no one will notice. I would not post like the same thing or send the same thing like a month out, but 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, nobody's gonna notice unless it like really stuck with them, in which case they probably won't mind. Save everything. I have also found this. I am working on a book for the music teachers, and I have been legit going through my blogs and like copying, pasting sections of my blogs into the book, because I already wrote the things that I'm talking about, and I'm editing it obviously, and I'm changing things, but it's giving me a really good first draft because I already have so much of this information out there. And so if I can stop reinventing the wheel every week, it really is life-changing. It saves so much time. It saves so much brain power. Highly recommend it. I save things on Google Docs. I save links to Google Sheets. I save reels to my phone. I also save like stories and stuff like that to this app called Day One over here. I will save like stories, and I will save just anything that I'm like, oh, hey, that could be a good post. Oh, hey, that could be a good Instagram, thing. Oh, I could send that in an email. Like, I save it to there, and then that way I don't have to come up with new things all of the time, which is lovely because it does get tiring after a while. So there we are. Coffee break. Also, yes, I am wearing seashells and starfish, and it is September. All right, number 4 is listen to your audience. This one should be pretty self-explanatory, but make sure that you're listening to what people need. If they are asking questions, if a post or a video or a whatever is doing really well, pay attention to that, because your audience is talking, whether that's literally sending you messages or whether that's like watching this thing over and over, or listening to this thing over, or sharing this thing over and over. And that speaks volumes, because some of my best products have come from people asking me questions, or people literally, I've had someone who was like, hey, do you have this kind of game for this kind of subject? And I was like, nope, but you know what? Next week I will. And so like some of my best products have come from literally people asking me questions about something. Some of my best blog posts and videos have come from people literally asking me questions over and over and over. And those have been really good money makers. So listen to your audience, whether that is literal, like they are sending you messages, or whether that's messages based on their behavior. So which videos are getting the most views, which this is getting the most views, that kind of stuff. If you don't have an audience yet, then you might want to look at your data instead. So which products are doing the best, which products have the highest conversion rates, which products, are really flying off the shelves. Those are the things you want to look for. I would say, especially if you have a seasonal product and it does really well, see if you can kind of like reformat it for a different season. I had one of these. I had a Thanksgiving game that did really, really well. My kids loved it. Other people's kids loved it. And so I have started making other versions of it for different seasons, and it has continued to sell. My kids love it. Other people's kids love it. And it's been going really well. So look at your audience, whether that is literally asking them. And sometimes I literally ask them pretty much every summer. I will send a like Google form around that has like questions like, hey, what are the things you're most interested, what topics are you most interested in? Do you prefer videos or blog posts? Like different things like that. And I ask those questions, and usually I'll do like a raffle for a Starbucks gift card. And I usually do like 3 or 5. So that way, you get something out of it, but it gives you so much information, and it gives you so many of like their actual words and verbiage that you can then take to create things that are actually going to be meaningful and helpful to them, which we love, because that's really the goal. I mean, yeah, we want to make money, but really the goal is to help people, right? Right. And if you were like, Becca, I don't have an audience, that leads me to number 5, which is you need an audience. The more I talk to people, the more that I talk to TPT sellers, the more that I listen to their concerns, the more that I have experienced, you need an audience. Listen, friends, if all you're doing is TPT, you can get pretty far. You can do well on TPT alone. However, you're really limited. I remember like the first time I ever tried to do a sale on TPT, and I had an audience, but it was very small at the time. I had maybe like 100 people on my email list. And I, had the sale and I sent emails to my email list and I didn't sell a thing. Why? Because I didn't have anyone to talk to. There weren't that many people I was talking to. The people I did have were new. They didn't know me yet. And so they weren't that excited. And if you think about like conversion rates, a 1 to 3% conversion rate is pretty good. If you're sending an email to 100 people, you can expect maybe 1 to 3 people to purchase it. So an audience is really important for things, literally anything, for sales, for talking to them, finding out what they need, for building your reputation, and then, leading to more sales. It helps if you want to ever get off of TPT and sell somewhere else. You need an audience. It's so hard. People will be like, oh, should I create a course? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, do you have someone to sell it to? Because if you want to do literally anything off of TPT that doesn't have that built-in audience in it, you need to have an audience you can sell to. So if you want to make a course, if you want to write a book, if you want to do any of those things that are non-TPT things, you need to have someone to sell it to. You need to be able to talk to somebody. And for that, you need an audience. I truly cannot imagine how I would even run my business without an audience. So do that. And as far as like what my audience would be, if I was starting over, I would say email list and either a blog or YouTube. You only need one of them, but if you can do the email list and blog or YouTube, game changer. They're more important than social media. Social media has a role, but it's not as important. It's not as useful. It's also not as searchable. So if I had to pick, I would say do email and do either YouTube or blog, whichever one speaks to you the most, because some people just prefer one over the other. Number 6 is another product one, and that is take the time to make the products that nobody else wants to make. This is especially important now because AI is becoming such a big thing, and it is easy to create a lot of stuff on AI. And the outcome of that is that a lot of the easy things are going to not necessarily be as useful, as well as if you're creating easy things, it's easy for everybody else to make them. But if you're creating bigger things, difficult things, longer things, units, curriculums, hard things, if you're putting in that kind of effort, there's going to be a lot less people who are creating those things, and it's going to be a lot easier to get teachers to buy them because, if it's like, well, I could totally make this worksheet, then they're going to be less likely to buy it than if it's like, oh, here's a whole unit with slides and worksheets and tests and this and that and all of these things that I could use, and it's going to save me so much time. It's hard because no one wants to do it because it's hard, because it takes a lot of effort, because it takes a lot of time. But if you can do those things, then you're going to have a huge advantage, because then you will draw more teachers in, because again, they're not going to want to do it, as well as other TPT sellers are not going to want to do it as much because it takes too long and it's too hard. And also, you can usually sell it for more money. So think like study guides, curriculums, units, those like just anything that's like detailed, that's interesting, like that kind of stuff is really going to help build your store. I like having some small things as well because they serve kind of a different purpose, but having those bigger things that people can purchase and maybe that are more expensive are really helpful in creating a sustainable store. And it's hard. I'm in the middle of a really big product and it's hard, and I don't want to work on it all the time because I've been working on it forever. But because I've been doing that, hopefully it should sell pretty well, because not everybody's making these things. And I have looked through TPT for similar products, and there's some that are similar, but they're not the same. And mine seems to be a little more detailed. And so there's just like all that kind of stuff to think about. So make the products no one else wants to make. That's going to help give your store an advantage and help you make more money. And finally, keep going even when you're in a slump. Sometimes TPT is great and everything's wonderful and you're making lots of money and everything's happy-go-lucky and all of that kind of stuff. And other times your store might make a lot less money for absolutely no reason that you can find, or everything might feel hard, or you might be in a season where it's like, I cannot find 2 minutes to work on my store, or maybe you just don't even feel like it. Maybe you're a little burnt out and you're too tired. Keep going. Just keep going. Find a way to keep going. If it's that you don't have as much time or that you are too tired, find a way that is sustainable for you, but keep going. It really is worth it. And you're going to have the highs and lows. You're going to have some things that are great, some days that are not so great. And you have to ride it out in order to find success. Really just in life, that's kind of how life goes, but especially in TPT and online business, like everything is not the same all the time. Everything is not magical and wonderful all the time. It goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So even when you're in a slump, just keep going. Find a way to make it through, whether that is making products that are exciting to you, focusing on the parts of the business you like more than others, maybe finding help to help you with things you don't like. Those kind of things can all be helped and can help you to do better and keep going even when the going is hard. Because going back to number one, consistency is everything in life, especially in business. So there are 7 things that I've learned in the last 7 years in a wide variety of tips and tricks. I would love to know things that you've learned in your TPT journey, so leave them down below in the comments. I would love to read them, as well as other TPT sellers maybe who aren't as experienced as you. Would love to hear them as well. Thanks for watching, and if you are a TPT seller, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you get access to all of the TPT videos, because I post twice a month and we talk TPT all the time. So come join us, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.